Emily Carter had spent her entire life trying to earn one thing that never seemed to come: her father's approval. Growing up, her brothers were treated like champions. Ethan, the eldest, inherited the family construction company before he even graduated college. Ryan, the youngest, became a successful lawyer, and every family dinner somehow turned into another celebration of his victories. Emily was different. She became a nurse. While her brothers earned six-figure salaries, Emily worked 12-hour hospital shifts, comforting strangers during the worst days of their lives. She missed birthdays because of emergencies. She spent Christmas mornings helping elderly patients who had no family. She believed kindness mattered more than money. Her father, Richard Carter, disagreed. "You're wasting your potential," he'd often say. "You could have been someone important." Every word cut deeper than the last. Her mother had always defended her, but after passing away 5 years earlier, Emily was left alone. Still, she kept showing up. She visited her father every Sunday. She called every week. She never stopped trying. The retirement dinner. After 42 years as CEO of Carter Construction, Richard announced his retirement. The celebration was held at the city's most expensive hotel ballroom. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead. A live jazz band played softly. Nearly 200 guests filled the room: business partners, relatives, former employees, politicians, and family friends. Emily arrived wearing a simple navy blue dress. Beside her stood her husband, Daniel. Daniel wasn't wealthy. He taught history at a local high school, but he loved Emily more deeply than anyone ever had. As they entered, Richard barely looked at them. Instead, he hugged Ethan. He shook Ryan's hand proudly. Emily forced a smile. Maybe tonight would be different. The speech after dinner, Richard walked onto the stage. The room became silent. He raised his champagne glass. "I've had an extraordinary life." Applause erupted. "I built a company from nothing." More applause. "I've also raised successful children." Guests smiled toward Ethan and Ryan. Then Richard paused. His eyes slowly drifted toward Emily. His expression hardened. He continued. "Only the children who made me proud are truly mine." The room laughed awkwardly. Emily felt her heartbeat stop. She prayed she had misunderstood. Richard looked directly into her eyes. "You can leave." Silence. Absolute silence. No one moved. Emily stared at her father. The man she'd spent 35 years trying to please had just disowned her in front of everyone. Tears burned behind her eyes. She slowly pushed back her chair. Without saying a word, she stood. Then Daniel stood. Daniel quietly took her hand. He looked at Richard, then at the crowd. Finally, he stepped toward the microphone. "Before we go," he said calmly, "I'd like to say something." Richard frowned. "This isn't your place." Daniel smiled politely. "I think it is." Someone handed him the microphone. The ballroom fell completely silent. Daniel's words. "I've known Emily for 12 years. I've watched her work overnight shifts without sleep. I've watched her spend her own money buying groceries for elderly patients. I've watched her miss anniversaries because someone else's child needed emergency surgery." He paused. "Last year, when Mr. Carter suffered a heart attack, everyone turned toward Richard." Daniel continued. "Do you know who stayed with him every single night in the hospital?" Richard looked uncomfortable. "Not Ethan. Not Ryan. It was Emily." Gasps spread across the room. Daniel wasn't finished. "The truth. You praised your sons for building businesses. My wife saved lives. You admired expensive cars. She bought wheelchairs for families who couldn't afford them. You respected titles. She held strangers' hands while they took their final breaths." The ballroom was completely still. Several guests lowered their heads. Daniel looked directly at Richard. You say only the children who made you proud are truly yours. I don't think you've ever deserved a daughter like Emily. No one clapped. No one spoke. Many had tears in their eyes. An unexpected voice before Emily could leave. Someone else stood, then another, then another. One by one, nurses from the local hospital entered the ballroom. Emily stared in shock. Daniel smiled. I invited a few friends. There weren't just a few. Nearly 40 doctors, nurses, paramedics, and former patients walked inside. Richard looked confused. Stories money couldn't buy, an elderly woman approached the stage. My husband died 3 years ago. She looked at Emily. She sat beside me for 12 hours after he passed. Another man spoke. My daughter survived leukemia because Emily refused to give up. A firefighter stepped forward. She donated blood for me. A little girl walked up holding flowers. My mommy says Miss Emily saved my life. The audience began wiping away tears. Even Richard's business partners looked ashamed. The surprise video. The lights dimmed. A video appeared on the giant screen. It wasn't prepared by Richard. It was created by the hospital staff. Photos filled the screen. Emily comforting frightened children. Emily holding newborn babies. Emily hugging grieving families. Emily celebrating recovered patients. Hundreds of smiling faces appeared. Then the final message filled the screen. Success isn't measured by the money you make, but by the lives you change. The room erupted into applause. Not polite applause, a standing ovation. People stood for nearly 2 full minutes, everyone, except Richard. A father's realization for the first time in his life. Richard saw something money couldn't buy. Respect. Real respect. Not because of power, not because of wealth, because of compassion. His hands trembled. He slowly walked toward Emily. I'm sorry. She looked at him quietly. I spent my whole life measuring success by money. I never saw the person you'd become. Emily listened, then softly replied, I stopped needing your approval a long time ago. Richard lowered his head. I know. The final choice. Emily hugged him. Not because he deserved forgiveness, but because she refused to carry bitterness any longer. Forgiveness didn't erase the pain. It simply ended its control over her life. She and Daniel left the ballroom together, hand in hand. Behind them, people continued talking, not about Richard Carter's successful career, but about the daughter who had quietly changed hundreds of lives without ever asking for recognition. Years later, when Richard passed away, his greatest legacy wasn't the company he built. It was the scholarship fund he established in Emily's name for nursing students dedicated to serving others. And on the plaque at the hospital entrance were the words he wished he had spoken much earlier. The child who made me proud wasn't the one who earned the most, but the one who gave the most. Moral. True greatness is not measured by wealth, status, or applause. It is measured by compassion, integrity, and the lives you touch when no one is watching.